right, welcome everybody to lesson 13.6. This is solve by factoring when a is not equal to 1. All right, so we notice first off, if we want to solve by factoring, we want to use the x factor method. A times c would be on the bottom. And we notice the a is not 1. So ideally we want to divide out this 3, but these ones we cannot divide by 3. I can't divide 2 by 3. It's not a whole number. 5 divided by 3, not a whole number, right? It's fractions and decimals. So we cannot divide by 3. So we have to factor it straight up. So we got to go 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. B on the bottom, negative 5. We find our two factors, 1 and negative 6. Multiplies to negative 6, adds to negative 5. And then we have to do our box method, right? The x box with it, because a was not 1. A was 3, so we have to use a box. So we put first term, 3x squared, last term, negative 2, our two factors in the middle. So 1x, negative 6x. And we can find one of them by the GCF. This column, GCF is just 1. Right, 1. Because the largest number you can divide 3 and 1 by is 1. And then once you have one of them, we can find the other. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 1, 1. 3 times negative 2, negative 6. And then negative 2 times 1, negative 2. So those are the two factors. 3x plus 1 and x minus 2. There. So once we have factored form, we can always solve it. Like we did before, we can solve using the zero product property. So we set them each to 0 and solve. Right? The one on the right is easier because you add 2, you get x equals 2. But this one, you're going to have to do a two-step equation. Right? You're going to have to minus 1 and then divide by 3. So you get negative 1/3. Right? So that's the difference. When you have a number in the front of the x, you have to solve it, and you're going to end up with a fraction. So we get two numbers, negative 1/3 and 2. Okay, let's go straight to our first problem. So number 1, page 63. All right, so number 1, we're going to factor first. So we have our a, b, c. And we do our x factor. AC on top, B on the bottom. So A times C, 2 times 35 is 70. B on the bottom, 19. Our two numbers, multiply 70, add to 19. 7 and 10. No. But 7 times 10 is 70, but doesn't add to 19. Try something else. Oh, 5. 5 and 14. Right, does that work? 5 times 14. 5 times 10, 50. 5 times 4, 20. So it adds to 70, and that also adds to 19. So we have positive 5, positive 14. Right, so multiply 70, add to 19. So we have our two factors. But again, since a is not equal to 1, we have to use the x with the box. So we have to use that extra box there. So here's our factor box. Our two factors go right in the middle. So 5x, negative 14x. Our first term, 2x squared, goes in the first box. Our last term, 35, goes in the last box. Right? 2x squared and 35, the a and the c. And now we're going to find the GCF of the first column. We can put XX to start us off. Right? XX here, always. So greatest common factor of 2 and 5. So the largest number you can divide 2 and 5 by is just 1. All right, so it's 1. And then we can use that to find the other one. So 1 times 2 equals 2. So this has to be 2. 1 times 5 equals 5. So this is positive 5. And then we got 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. And that's our factors. So we have 2x plus 5 and x minus 7. And it's still equal to 0. So that's how we factor with the x box. And then once it's in factored form, equals 0, we always can use the magical zero product property. So we just set each factor equal to 0, 2x plus 5 equals 0, x minus 7 equals 0, and solve each one separately. The one on the left, we have to do 2 steps, so subtract 5. We get 2x equals negative 5. Then we divide by 2. So x is equal to negative 5 over 2. That's one of our zeros. Our second equation, we add 7. So we got x equals 7. So we got two numbers that will equal, our equation will make it equal to 0, negative 5 over 2 and 7. All right, so this one, the hardest part is factoring. All right, so we want to factor, when a is not 1, we have to use the x with the box to factor it. So we get 2x plus 5, x minus 7. But once we get into factored form, then we use the zero product property. Set it both to 0, solve each one separately. And we have two solutions. Okay, let's go. Next one. Okay, number 2. We only got 3 problems. Okay, 2. Yeah, so this one we cannot divide by 7. So we gotta do the x box. All right, so we gotta do the x with the box. X with the box. So a times c on the top, b on the bottom. So we have our a, b, c. A, b, c. Our a value is 7. Our b value or c value is 30. So that multiplies to 210. And they add to negative 31. Okay, so we're going to find factors of 210 that add to negative 31. So 7 and 30, nah. So it has to have a difference of 31 because it's negative. Right? And they multiply to a positive, right? So they have to add to 31. Then they have to both be negative. To multiply to a positive, add to a negative. So let's see. 7 and 30 doesn't work. Let's try to break down. Can we break down? Let's break down 210. Okay, if we stuck, you don't see it right away, you can always just break down 210, or you could use a calculator. Right, I just got it. Negative 10, negative 21. All right, so multiply to 210, adds to negative 31. So we need to break it down. That's our two factors. Write it into our factor box. So negative 10x, negative 21x. Our first term is 7x squared. Our last term is 30. We're going to find the GCF of the first column. So we have x. Again, GCF, largest number you can divide 7 and 10 by is just 1. Right, so this is 1, so this has to be 7. So 1 times 7, 7. 1 times negative 10 will give you negative 10. 7 times negative 3 would give you negative 21. And then negative 3 times negative 10, about 30, so that works. So our factored form, 7x minus 10, x minus 3. And this is still equal to 0. And then once it's in factor form, we always need to use the zero product property, right? So use the zero product property to solve each one. So 7x minus 10 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0, and then we're going to solve each one. So add 10, we get 7x equals 10, divide by 7, x equals 10 over 7. That's the first one. Second one, we add 3, so x is just equal to 3. So we have two in order. 10 over 7 is like 1 3/7. So 10 over 7 goes first. The larger number, 3, goes second. So we have two zeros, 10 over 7 and 3. Yeah, so that's number 2. So next one, number 3. Kind of get the gist of it, right? X factor with the two middle numbers here. First term, last term, do your GCF of the column so that you could use the puzzle box, find the other numbers, and then zero product property it. So just two ideas, right? Factoring and then using the zero product property separately. Okay, again, we got A, B, C. So we do our X factor. AC on top, B on the bottom. We're also going to have your box here because our A is not 1. So A times C, 9 times negative 20, negative 180, and it adds to negative 24. Okay, so this one multiplies to a negative, so it's going to be opposite signs and have a difference of negative 24. Okay, so let's see how we can break down 180. There's 9 and negative 20, that didn't work. 20 and 9, that doesn't work. What else can we do? 6 and 3, 6 and 30. Yeah. Right, so 6 and 30. So we got positive or negative 30, positive 6. So multiplies to negative 180, adds to negative 24. And then we put it inside of our factor box. So negative 30x, 60x. And then we have 9x squared, negative 20, xx. There, right? So 9x squared, negative 20 goes in there. Our middle terms that we found here. Yes, now we find a GCF. So GCF, greatest common factor of 9 and 30. So you can divide 9 by 9 or 3 or 1. Right? So you cannot divide 30 by 9, but you can divide by 3. So your GCF is 3, because you can divide both 9 and 30 by 3. And then you figure out your puzzle box. 3 times what equals 9? 3 times 3 equals 9. 3 times what equals negative 30? That'll be negative 10. And you can find out 3 times what equals 6? Equals positive 2. So we have our two factors, 3x minus 10 and 3x plus 2 equal to 0. And again, once we have the factored form, we always just use zero product property. So 3x minus 10 equals 0. 3x plus 2 equals 0. Solve each one separately. So add 10. First one. 3x equals 10. Divide by 3. X equals 10 over 3. It's our first one. Our second one, we subtract 2. 3x equals negative 2. Divide by 3. X equals negative 2/3. There you go. That's our two zeros Negative 1 is smaller. Negative 2/3. 10, 10/3 will be our next one. So we have our two solutions there. Yeah, so this one's, when A is not 1, we use the X box, and we still use the zero product property to solve. So two things, just put together, two things that we know. All right, we'll look with the homework.